My name is Craig, Craig Vredeveld. My last name means peace field in Dutch. My pen name is Rootboy. Started off, I was going to be a DJ, and I wanted to come up with a name for being a DJ, and used to be this small radio station, I don't remember, and that's how that name came out, and then I use that as my poetry name. It means like woods boy, nature boy, that kind of thing, off wandering in the woods, like that. Oh, I had this roommate. I don't know whether to use names or not, but Doug Brando was his name, and he's 10 years older than me, housemate. So he's kind of one of my best friends, and he, I don't know, we would read poetry, and I was just kind of starting out writing, and he would listen, and I practiced like reading poems aloud to him. And we were involved in the peace movement at the time. Palestinian Human Rights Campaign, and peace through Institute for Global Education in Grand Rapids, peace in Central America, Nicaragua, and El Salvador, and so on. 1984, it was like, I don't know if it was Christmas Eve, 1984, and I decided in my mind, I'm going to be a poet, and I'm going to write, and it was this like kind of like this thing, like it's like kind of Orwellian, like, 1984, and I don't know, like Reagan was going to be, I don't know, like he ran for president again and won, and we couldn't believe it, and it was like, okay, I have to get active and say my piece. I was spending time by myself, imagining things, and I needed an outlet for that imagination. And writing was that thing, and I thought poetry doesn't have any rules. Yeah, right. And I thought, like, and then I'll be an old man and I'll be writing poetry or someday or whatever. I don't know. It was like a thing to do, to get into, like to not just write, but I don't know, like art, I guess, active art. This thing, my friends, my parents, my mom would tease me. She said this music came on the intercom, and I started dancing, and I said, I know how to dance. And I think I was in like 4th grade, and she heard that through some friends of theirs, and their daughter was in the class with me. And then they said, yeah, Craig, we know this kid named Craig, and he knows how to dance or something like that. And my mom would tease me, like, oh, you know how to dance, don't you? Or the sun bursts, the leaves are falling, or the wind is stirring the leaves that are left over from winter. I was an art model, or I have been, like, on and off, and my favorite thing was the gestures, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if you do gestures the whole time, like you're really, it kills you, but it's just like, da, 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 and I don't know, it's just like a dance. And there's an exercise that they do where it's a gesture but a slow movement, and they said that I could do that good. That's how I think about it, is place, right? Like it started off reading poetry aloud to my friend. And then it was, do you mind I read a poem, like that. And I remember being in the Easttown Food Co-op, and they sold a Twilight Tribe magazine. And I remember reading, I read a poem by Nate Butler about a woman scrubbing the floor. And the floor was black and white, black and white. And I just, it's like, I get it, right? Like that old mindset of not respecting women, not respecting people, is the black and white view. And, but I thought, like, maybe I too could do this, like that. And I remember thinking that. And I have to tell you this story. Like, I got a job at Gaia Cafe. I thought I was going to lose my other job because I was in trouble for being late. My marriage wasn't doing real well. Honor. And I started this new job at Gaia and washing dishes. And there's this guy, his name was Kirk, and he was the cook. And he came to work in a chef's hat, right? Like the old-fashioned chef's hat. And he had a snake on his head, right, while he was cooking. And the snake would, like, come down his face. And I just thought, what? This is, like, awesome. Like, I can't believe, like, I'm here and I'm a part of this. And then they were having a poetry reading that night, right? And then all these girls, women, came in and said, like, oh, you have a snake on your head, like, and like, I remember, like, making fun of it at the time, like, he's just trying to be cool, but I'll never forget that, right? And it was like my first poetry reading, I believe, right? And I tried my stuff, and they liked it, right? And I got, like, attention, right? And they laughed at the wrong spot, and I didn't care, I had some swear words. It was like, I wrote the poem at Dick's Fine Foods. It's a 24-hour a greasy spoon in Grand Rapids. And then these people came in drunk and said, God damn it, and, or like swearing. And then I just, like, wrote down what they said, and the people just roared laughing at the poetry reading. And I just thought, I have found my place, I'm so glad to be here, I want to say, so, like, 84, I started writing poetry, like, I want to say, like, 87, 88. I saw the movie Wings of Desire, and I think that was in 88, at Ray Street Gallery. That was another venue. UICA was on Ray Street, and they had open mics there. And they showed that movie, and just the idea of these angels not... And then Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds was in the movie. And I just thought, whoa, that's Nick Cave. Like, oh, those Germans are so cool, and, in Berlin. And I don't know. I just started going off in a certain direction. Then, yeah, it is in the Creston neighborhood now, and we are talking about having poetry readings there.
Oh, that's really awesome. That's really awesome.
With Angela. Twilight Tribe. Bob Vance was the MC. I want to say something, and it's weird, like, to talk about people who are in the movie too. Like, this is like, I was raised Christian Reformed, right? And this wait person, Roger Helder, worked there, and he was, like, a cool guy, and he knew Union songs, and he was, like, really smart, and he was a waiter and kind of one of my mentors there. And one time Bob was going on, he's an atheist, and he was saying these things that were, like, about how God doesn't exist or whatever. And Roger said to me, like, it's like lightning is going to strike him right on the stage or whatever. And it was kind of like that for me. I just thought, like, how does he dare say this? Like, oh my God, right? Like, and that was like so good for me, right? To have that freedom it's like coming out, like, yeah, different viewpoints. And later I went to a poetry reading in Chicago. It was in the neighborhood of by Wrigley Field, and no one read a poem about God there, like at that time, you know? Mm-hmm. And I thought, like, in Grand Rapids, like, there were lots of people reading poems about God, either pissed off at God or whatever. It was something we addressed, you know, like a Woody Allen film or Bergman, you know, like does God exist, like that kind of thing, you know. So I guess I was like finding my footing, my freedom to, you know, follow new pathways, whatever that be. I was MC for the Reptile House poetry readings, and these it was the 90s. I think I went to every one. My friend Mickey went with me, I think, to every one. We were like a little bit, I was in a band called Better Disease, and and we were kind of like the house band a little bit. I don't know if we were the house band, but we played every Sunday and we didn't get paid for it. But poetry, Reptile House. Yeah, these guys, they were from Chicago, and they said, you know, here, put up posters. Here's some posters, and it was like the Reptile House at the zoo. I went to a poetry reading recently, and I said I was the MC at the Reptile House, and they thought that I was joking and that I was a that I read poetry to the snakes at the zoo. But but I think it's like there's this book, Holmes. I didn't read it. I found out it was fiction, right? Clayton Holmes, I can't think, about the beats. And he called it, and when I found out it was fiction, then I didn't want to read it, right? But I got it from the library, and but the name of the book was Just Go. And I thought that's like the perfect description of the beat thing, and I look at poetry that way, and just go. It's like I just like turn it on, and I just go. It's like a sax solo or something. I compose on a Smith Corona. Well, I've had others like Olivetti, but like a manual typewriter. I don't know what. So this is my I'll read a longhand mitt. Yeah. Magpie beat drum with wing and beak. Eagle make fire below mountain peak. Note squirrel's nest shaped like a heart. Coyote walked backwards in a dream. Through the snow even. Jay seen blue and pines. Choke cherry, deer walked through forward. Thanks. Do I do another one? No? Good. You want the second one?
Are we ready with the camera? We good?
Yeah, I'm ready for another.
Dirt tracked on a sitting rug. Coffee froze bottom, gold cup. Fire King incident. Dog wants me to come outside. Candle burns by flickering heart bear. Room reverberates 'cause heater turned on. In my gone house, rose mountain cat, red stone lit, petrified wood. Said road, cobble, shook, coffin cart, some black, others liver brown. Horses, knock wood, lucky I guess. Red tail hawk, fans, unshaven face. Dog crazy again, demand my throw. Tea truck drove down my street, bottled, not my cup of tea. Palomino smiled with his mouth closed. Winnie had to be nosed. Coffee, sweetgrass, and a cigar. Origa down, goat on shoulder, 2 kids on that arm. Orion ready to lay asleep. Rasp, grandma, jewel clasped in right elbow. Drum, coffee, jars, mason, lid, different tightness for the drum. Rust, blessed, equine nuzzle tack shop, spark stone. I'm amused. Thinking or inking. Visit to Sandhill Cranes. Rest, quarterway point almost to Lansing. Yesterday flew real high, squeal, deep blue, could hardly find you. I said, peal, inner bell, viva heart. Thanks. Thank you. Indulge. There was a place called the Enclave too that I have to talk about. I don't know, like I was like a full-time poet then. And that's not nice to people who had to support me, like, and I'm with Jean now, my wife, and I was living with her, and I modeled, and I went to the Enclave, and I remember several nights where I went on stage at midnight, like, every night for a long time, and it was just kind of a free-for-all. They had a broken up bowling alley, and that was the stage, like the wood from the bowling alley across the street or something. Maybe dégagé, I don't know. No, the building is it's Oaks and Division.
Okay.
And maybe they got the bowling alley, from dégagé or something. I might be wrong. When they tore it up, and then that was in a dumpster or whatever. Rick Todd, that was his deal, and he lived in a tent inside the Enclave. So this is like downstairs. One time I just had like a page like just full of poetry, just full of words, and I don't think it was necessarily a good poem. And I'm reading a poetry, and this one guy like went like this, and then he came up on stage and took the poetry away from me and like looked at it and then gave it back to me and then went and sat down. Like what the hell are you reading like that? So, I don't know. It's just kind of a blend, like with my imagination and what's happening, like something happening in nature. I was really upset about something, my love life or whatever. And I was upset, and I went walking after work. I had worked in mental health group homes, and after work I went for a walk, and there was like this ice storm, right? And I was just like distraught, and this blue jay came and landed by me. And then in my mind, I heard this voice, like not the speaking voice, but just in my mind, I heard this voice like, your time will come. Kind of like, don't worry, like you'll, like that. And I don't know, kind of crazy. I kind of thought like God was talking to me. But that's kind of like the, you know, like the medicine person kind of deal, you know. Like, so through writing poetry, I think like I opened up that door to that kind of stuff, right? To having something much, 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 much bigger available to me, you know, to help me. And it's always about that, right? Like all our little problems are very small. Look at the universe. And I wake up right now, like just a couple nights ago, I woke up and looked to the south and I could see Orion going down. He's following the bull, right? Taurus. And sort of part of Taurus is my favorite constellation, the Pleiades. And then I kind of know right where to look for it, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to see it in the city. But right by the peak of my house, like I kind of look there and then kind of look away and then I can see it. And it's just like this little blur, right? You know, they had this thing, when Rodney King happened, there was like this incident where these, the cops beat Rodney King. There was an event right after that at Ray Street Gallery, and it was called Without a Net. And I remember I just had this little book, and it was just all handwritten, and it just full of emotion. And I just like, I don't know, I think my friend Nikki was playing like saxophone or whatever, and just, I remember just yelling, and it was just crazy. Like I was kind of like, I consider myself an anarchist, but then I kind of thought I don't want like fighting, right? You know, and it was like kind of horrible and crazy. Walt Whitman's birthday at the Reptile House, Stephen Durst did this like long, a whole bunch of poetry, right? And I think he read or recited like Walt Whitman, right? On Walt Whitman's birthday, and then took off all his clothes. It was this wonderful. And he said, "This is for you, Walt," like that. Don Monroe got us the gig. She had and we all planned it together. She had a studio downstairs, and they let us stay overnight there and set up. And we had this thing called the Elastic Manifesto, and that was cool. And we were painted, our bodies were painted, and we were nude, and we did this play, and Bob came down from Petoskey. He had already moved to Petoskey at that time. And he had this play that we didn't rehearse, and it was just something that we read. And we read this play in the nude, and we had our parts, and it was just like really cool. And I think I served. We served food, right? So it was Triscuit crackers with hot pepper cheese and guava paste, right? And I like walked around nude, and like if you came in the door, I approached you and said, would you like a cracker or whatever? And then we had black lights on us. This guy that ran this gallery on, anyway, I'll keep going. He got us the black lights, and we thought, okay, we'll use Dayglow paint instead of just regular body paint. And it was the wrong kind of paint, so we had these black lights, and then the paint kind of dried on us, and it made these like clouds of dry paint. Elastic Manifesto and the Grand Rapids Press covered that. Kind of talking about stuff a long time ago, but like it continues, right? Wherever it is, right? And in every city, like if you go to any city, you're gonna find, an alternative group of people who are kind of saying like, we don't want just the regular way, or we want to create our own way every day. And I don't know, I shoot a movie of myself or what, anywhere, anytime, well, just about any time. I work third shift. Yeah, it continues on. I go to a friend's house, Mickey's house, and record. Thanks, Mickey. I'm just mentioning his name a lot. It's the people I know, right? It's that's what's important. That's how I consider, like, what I'm grateful for is the people I know.